Ideation is really the first step in the process, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really fun step. It's where we collaborate with the client to kind of extract the vision of their project from their mind. Very often it's like a 10,000 piece puzzle. There's all these different parts. There's, I know what I want the outside of my house to look like, the colors. I know what towel bars I want. And I know I want big windows with natural light, whatever it may be. You have all these little pieces that come together to make the whole. And sometimes that can be really overwhelming to try to explain in one go. And so that ideation process is really where we step by step work through to try to get the design nailed down to a point where it's ready to get into the next step. It's a very collaborative process. It's something where, we take our expertise, our know-how, we know the process from design all the way through to the completion of the project. We know all the steps, we know all the people that'll be involved, we know the process. So with that in mind, we lead our customer through that design process, that ideation process, in a way that allows them to kind of say what they're trying to say, explain it in their own words, and then we can take that and put the pieces where they fit to get to the next step. I mean, it's a series of conversation, and a lot of it starts with, what are the most important things to you? What are the deal breakers, the non-negotiables? So a lot of times, especially if somebody's working, within a budget, which most people are, one place we'll start is, what are the non-negotiables? What are the things you have to have for this project to be viable, for it to be a valuable endeavor for you? And then from there, we can make sure we get those into the plan and then work from there. What else would you like? What else is important? And then we start answering those questions while being budget conscious. And then we kind of end up with think of it like an a la carte menu of things, and we can pick and choose up until a certain point, and we can interchange and we go, okay, well, maybe we want this and we'll let go of this. And then we can go through all the different versions to get to a place where like, okay, this feels good, this feels right, we're ready to move forward with pre-construction. By the end of the ideation process, you should have a very clear idea of what the project can be. You're gonna have a plan, on paper, you're gonna have renderings that'll allow you to see the aesthetic. What is the building going to look like, or the home, whatever it is. You should have a pretty clear understanding of what the aesthetic is going to be. It's still early in the overall process. If you're breaking this into three, you've got the ideation, which is where we're fleshing out the design. You've got the cultivation, where we're taking that design and we're planting it. We're going through the pre-construction process, and then ultimately you've got the build process. At the end of the ideation process, you've got plans, digital and on paper. You've got renderings. It is still very much in the theoretical realm. You can see it on paper, you can see renderings, you can visually understand what it's going to look like, but we haven't worked through the logistical, practical aspects of getting this to a real 3D building. Once we've completed the ideation process, we're going to move into pre-construction, which is where we really cultivate the idea. We've got the idea, now we need to put planning practices into place. We need to consult with the city or whatever jurisdiction we may be building in on building codes. Every jurisdiction, Jacksonville, Ashland, Medford, they all have different rules or different requirements to even apply for a permit to build. What I like to always say is, ideation is figuring out what the project can be. Cultivation is figuring out what it will be. That's where the seeds are planted, the roots start to grow of this project. The ideation process is important because we do need to understand the vision. We do need to understand the desires of the client and what they're wanting to get out of this. But that idea has to be planted, in fertile soil, so to speak. And that's where all these different entities have to be consulted, they have to be collaborated with to even get to the point of actually building something. There are a lot of builders out there that don't do pre-construction the way we do pre-construction. We are very upfront about it being an important, crucial step early in the process, before building. We've all heard the stereotypical contracting experience where, things weren't figured out, we did things on the fly, we ended up paying lots of change orders, and so we thought the cost was going to be this, and then the cost went up to here, and it's not a very good experience. We're in the business of delivering a great experience for our clients, and the pre-construction is probably the most essential part of that whole process.